The unveiling. The artificial gravity aboard Arcturus station fluctuated slightly as Admiral Elena Reyes walked through the polished corridors. Her uniform, a deep navy blue with silver trim, represented humanity's United Space Forces, a military organization that the galactic community had, until today, regarded as little more than a ceremonial guard for a species barely worth noticing. For 70 years, humanity had existed on the fringes of galactic politics. When the Xalar Conclave scout ships first appeared in Earth's orbit, they'd found a fractured planet still fighting amongst itself, technologically primitive by galactic standards. The subsequent integration into the galactic community had been less an invitation and more a colonization. Earth resources flowed outward, alien technology trickled in, and humanity found itself relegated to the status of a protectorate, a polite term for subjugation. Admiral, the delegates are assembling in the observation hall, Lieutenant Commander Jackson said, matching her stride. The Xalar representatives are demanding to know the purpose of this summit. Reyes allowed herself a thin smile. I'm sure they are. The observation hall occupied the upper level of Arcturus Station, Earth's most impressive diplomatic outpost orbiting just beyond the moon. Through the massive transparent panels, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the darkness. The station itself was built using Xalar-approved designs and materials, impressive by human standards, but considered quaint and primitive by galactic ones. Within the hall, representatives from 12 major galactic powers had gathered. The Xalar, tall, multi-limbed beings with iridescent exoskeletons, dominated the center. Their High Counselor, Vazdak, turned his compound eyes toward Reyes as she entered. Admiral. His translation device rendered his clicks and whistles into English. The conclave has pressing matters throughout 17 sectors. This invitation was most irregular. Earth has not been granted summit calling privileges. Reyes nodded politely. High Counselor, I appreciate your attendance despite your busy schedule. I promise this will be worth your time. The representatives from the Mrodini Collective, gelatinous beings contained in hovering environmental suits, pulsed with blue light, their way of expressing skepticism. The Tauranian delegation, reptilian humanoids known for their military might second only to the Xalar, simply washed with cold, calculating eyes. Earth has operated under Xalar protection for 7 decades, Vazdak continued. If there are concerns about resource quotas or technology transfer schedules, those should be addressed through the proper bureaucratic channels. This isn't about quotas, High Counselor, Reyes replied. It's about introducing ourselves properly. She touched the communication device on her wrist. Phoenix Actual, this is Arcturus Command. You are cleared for approach. The alien representatives exchanged confused glances. Through the observation windows, the empty space beyond Earth's moon remained unchanged for several moments. Then reality itself seemed to bend. A massive ship materialized from what appeared to be a localized fold in spacetime. Where empty vacuum had existed seconds before, now hung a vessel of unmistakably human design, yet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Sleek and angular, with a distinctive arrowhead shape, its hull gleamed with a material that seemed to absorb and redirect light in impossible ways. The alien representatives rushed to the windows, expressions of disbelief, evident even across species with radically different physiologies. Impossible, whispered the Tauranian commander. That vessel is nearly 3 kilometers in length. The Phoenix, Reyes announced, unable to keep a note of pride from her voice. Humanity's first superwarship. This is a violation of the Protection Treaty. Vazdak's exoskeleton flushed an angry red. Earth was explicitly forbidden from developing military vessels exceeding destroyer classification. Reyes turned to face the assembled delegates. The treaty that was imposed upon us, not negotiated with us. The treaty that ensured human resources would flow outward while we received outdated technology in return. The treaty that designated Earth as a developing species with no voting rights in the Galactic Congress. She gestured to the Phoenix. That treaty is no longer recognized by Earth's united governments. The observation hall erupted in overlapping translation devices as the delegates argued among themselves and with their homeworlds. Vazdak moved closer to Reyes, lowering his voice. Do you understand what you're doing? The conclave maintains peace through controlled technological advancement. If every species were allowed to develop unchecked, the galaxy would descend into chaos. Peace through subjugation isn't peace, High Counselor. It's tyranny with good PR. The Merdini representative pulsed rapidly, their translation device speaking in hurried tones. The vessel's configuration is impossible. Our sensors detect power generation capabilities that should not be achievable with current technology. Current technology as defined by the Conclave, Rice corrected. Humanity has always excelled at thinking outside established parameters. While you've been watching us, controlling what we create, we've been learning, adapting, innovating in ways your cultures, bound by thousands of years of traditional thinking, never considered. On cue, the Phoenix's external lights activated, illuminating sections of its hull that revealed weapons systems unlike anything in the Galactic Standard. Instead of the bulky, obvious turrets and launch tubes common to Xeeler and Taranian vessels, the Phoenix's armaments were seamlessly integrated into its structure, nearly invisible until activated. You can't possibly have the resources to build more than this one vessel, the Taranian commander said, though his tone suggested he was trying to convince himself. Lieutenant Commander Jackson stepped forward, activating a holographic display. The Phoenix is our flagship, but it's not alone. The hologram showed Earth's solar system, then zoomed out to reveal previously hidden shipyards scattered throughout the asteroid belt, inside hollowed-out moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and in the clouds of Neptune. In each location, vessels of various sizes were under construction, all sharing the Phoenix's distinctive design philosophy. For decades, you've monitored our official shipyards, our sanctioned research facilities, Rise explained. Meanwhile, we've been building elsewhere, using resources you didn't realize we were mining, with technologies you didn't know we were developing. How? Demanded Vazdak. Our monitoring systems were designed to detect what you already know. Rise interrupted. Not what you've never imagined. The Phoenix began a series of maneuvers that defied conventional propulsion physics. It accelerated to speeds that should have been impossible without a detectable energy signature, changed direction without the expected momentum effects, and demonstrated stealth capabilities by partially phasing out of normal spacetime, becoming nearly invisible to standard sensors. Chief Engineer Patel, Rise activated the communication link again. Would you explain to our guests what they're witnessing? A holographic figure appeared in the center of the observation hall, a woman of Indian descent wearing a practical jumpsuit with the Phoenix insignia. The Phoenix utilizes several revolutionary technologies, Patel began. Our quantum fold drive creates localized spacetime distortions that allow for effective faster-than-light travel without the massive energy signatures of conventional FTL drives. Our adaptive phase shift hull both absorbs energy weapons and redirects kinetics, while our gravity manipulation systems provide unprecedented maneuverability. These technologies are theoretical at best. The Merdini scientist protested. The energy requirements alone would be prohibitive using conventional power generation. Patel agreed, which is why we don't use conventional methods. Our zero-point energy extraction system draws power directly from quantum fluctuations in vacuum space. The silence that followed was profound. Zero-point energy extraction was the holy grail of power generation, theorized by many species but achieved by none. The implications were staggering. Essentially unlimited energy without resource consumption. This is dangerous, Vazdak finally said. You don't understand what you're meddling with. There are reasons the Conclave controls technological advancement. To maintain your power, Rise replied bluntly. To ensure species like mine remain dependent and subservient. The Taranian commander, more pragmatic than ideological, studied the Phoenix with newfound respect. What does Earth want? You wouldn't reveal this capability unless you had specific demands. Reyes nodded. Earth wants recognition as a sovereign power, not a protectorate. We want fair trade agreements, not extraction quotas. We want a seat at the table, not scraps from beneath it. And if these demands are not met, Vazdak asked, though all present knew the answer, then we will take our place regardless. The Phoenix represents not just our capabilities, but our resolve. Humanity will no longer accept second-class status in this galaxy. As if to emphasize her point, a section of the Phoenix's hull reconfigured, revealing what appeared to be a massive cannon unlike any weapon system known to galactic military science. It powered up, a blue-white energy coalescing at its core, then fired, not at the station or any vessel, but at an uninhabited region of space. The energy beam traveled faster than should have been possible, striking nothing visible. Yet seconds later, a massive shockwave rippled outward from the impact point, distorting space itself in concentric rings. A demonstration, Reyes explained calmly. The Phoenix's main kinetic disruptor can destabilize the quantum structure of space-time itself within a targeted region. Not destructive in the conventional sense, but capable of neutralizing any ship, station, or even small planetoids by temporarily disrupting the forces holding matter together. The implications weren't lost on anyone present. Such a weapon rendered traditional shields and armor meaningless. You've been building this abomination in secret for how long? Vazdak demanded. The Phoenix Project began 20 years ago, Reyes answered. After your conclave denied our petition for full membership for the third time, we realized then that respect in this galaxy comes only through strength. The observation hall fell silent again as the Phoenix completed its demonstration, returning to a stationary position that perfectly framed it against Earth in the background. A powerful visual statement that wasn't lost on the delegates. The Galactic Congress convenes in 3 standard weeks, Reyes continued. Earth will present itself with the Phoenix as our ambassador. We expect a very different reception than we've received in the past. The Reckoning. 3 days after the Phoenix's unveiling, Arcturus Station became the epicenter of frantic diplomatic activity. Representatives from dozens of species, many that had never bothered to establish direct relations with Earth before, arrived hourly, requesting audiences, offering alliances, proposing trade deals. Admiral Reyes sat in her office reviewing the latest intelligence reports. The station's advanced quantum communications array, another technology humans weren't supposed to possess, intercepted and decoded transmissions from across the galaxy. The Sealer are mobilizing their central fleet, Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported, scrolling through the data. The Taranians have placed their border forces on high alert. 6 mid-tier powers have formally requested conclave protection against human aggression. Reyes nodded, unsurprised. And the smaller powers. That's where it gets interesting. Jackson's expression brightened. The Novan Federation, the Wessari Alliance, and the Drell combine, all species that have chafed under Xalar domination, have reached out with offers of military coordination. They're viewing us as potential liberators. Not our intention, Reyes cautioned, but useful nonetheless. Dr. Marcus Chen, head of Sinopolitical Analysis, entered with his own tablet. Admiral, we've decoded the emergency conclave session transcripts. They're divided on how to respond. The military faction wants immediate action to contain the human threat. The diplomatic faction argues for caution, fearing we may have other surprises. Both are right, Reyes said with a thin smile. Have we received any direct communication from the conclave? Just arrived. Jackson handed her another tablet. High Counselor Vazdak is requesting your presence at an emergency summit on Xalar Prime. Deep in their territory, surrounded by their fleets, Chen warned. It's a trap, Admiral. Of course it is, Reyes agreed, which is why we'll accept on our terms. The summit will be held aboard the Phoenix. The request sent shockwaves through the conclave hierarchy. For a protectorate species to dictate terms to the dominant power was unprecedented. After 48 hours of frantic internal debate, they agreed. High Counselor Vazdak arrived with a delegation of 11 other species representatives. Their shuttle approached the Phoenix with obvious trepidation, scanning constantly, shields at maximum. The Phoenix's docking bay dwarfed the shuttle. As the delegates disembarked, they found themselves in a cavernous space of gleaming metal and pulsing blue energy conduits. Human crew members went about their duties with practiced efficiency, seemingly unconcerned by the presence of the galaxy's most powerful beings. "Welcome aboard the Phoenix," Reyes greeted them at the base of the shuttle ramp. "If you'll follow me, we've prepared the conference room." As they walked through the ship's corridors, the delegates couldn't help but notice details that contradicted everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. The interfaces were far more advanced than anything Earth should possess. The materials making up the bulkheads and floors had properties that suggested molecular-level engineering beyond approved technology transfer. "You've hidden more than just shipyards," Vazdak observed quietly. "You've concealed your entire technological development." "Not hidden," Reyes corrected. "We simply pursued avenues your scientists dismissed as impractical or impossible. Human creativity thrives when challenged." The conference room offered a spectacular view of Earth through a transparent viewport that somehow magnified the image despite the distance. The delegates took their seats around a circular table that subtly placed everyone, including Reyes, on equal footing, a deliberate departure from conclave summit protocols, where seating arrangements reflected established power hierarchies. "Let's be direct," Vazdak began once formalities were concluded. "The Phoenix and whatever sister ships you've constructed represent a destabilizing force in the galaxy. The Conclave is prepared to offer significant concessions, upgraded protectorate status, increased technology transfers, reduced resource quotas, in exchange for a full accounting and surrender of these vessels." Reyes shook her head. "You still don't understand. We're not looking for a better deal within your existing system. We're redefining our place in the galaxy entirely." Before Vazdak could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Commander Jackson's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, we have multiple fleet signatures entering the system. Xelar battle groups approaching from 7 vectors." The delegates shifted uncomfortably. Vazdak's exoskeleton flushed darkly. "A precautionary measure," he said smoothly. "Surely you understand our need to protect our representatives." "With your 3 largest battle fleets?" Reyes asked, looking pointedly at the tactical display that had appeared on the conference room wall. "Including your dreadnought squadrons." The display showed nearly 200 vessels approaching Earth in a classic encirclement pattern. The Phoenix, though impressive, was just one ship. "It appears," Reyes continued calmly, "that while we've been talking about peace, you've been preparing for war." Vazdak abandoned pretense. "The Conclave cannot allow a single species to possess technologies that threaten the established order. Surrender the Phoenix and all related research now, and your species will be spared." Reyes stood, straightening her uniform. "We suspected this would be your response, which is why we prepared accordingly." She activated her communication device. "Captain Ortega, you have permission to deploy the fleet. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations activated. From the dark side of Mars, from Jupiter's Trojan asteroids, from the clouds of Neptune, and dozens of other concealed locations, ships emerged, not 1 or 2, but hundreds, each smaller than the Phoenix, but built with the same advanced technology. They moved with impossible grace into defensive formations around Earth. On the tactical display, the delegates watched in stunned silence as the human fleet appeared, outnumbering the approaching Xelar forces nearly 2 to 1. "Impossible," breathed the Tauranian commander. "You couldn't have built so many." "We've had 70 years," Reyes replied simply. "While you took our resources and gave us scraps, we planned. While you dismissed our potential, we built. While you thought us contained, we prepared." The Xelar fleet halted its advance, clearly reassessing the situation. Rapid communications flashed between their vessels as commanders sought new orders. "This doesn't need to end in conflict," Reyes continued. "Humanity doesn't seek dominance, only equality. We will defend ourselves if attacked, but we prefer peaceful coexistence. Even if we withdraw today, Vazdak said, the combined fleets of the Conclave members would eventually overwhelm you. This show of force merely delays the inevitable. Reyes smiled. Unless we've developed more than just ships. With perfect timing, the tactical display expanded to show the Sailor Home System, millions of light-years away. Within it, small human vessels suddenly appeared, having traversed the distance instantaneously. Quantum tunneling technology, Reyes explained. Another theoretical impossibility we've made reality. Those ships carry no weapons, only observation equipment, but they demonstrate that distance no longer provides security. We can deploy our forces anywhere, anytime. The implications hit the delegates like a physical blow. The entire Conclave defense doctrine was based on controlling established hyperspace routes and fortifying key systems. If humans could bypass those restrictions entirely, you would destabilize a peace that has lasted for millennia. Vazdak protested, though his tone had lost its certainty. A peace built on subjugation, Reyes countered. Ask the Novans how peaceful your conclave has been. Ask the Wessari about the development assistance that stripped their worlds of resources. Ask the Drell about the security protocols that keep their populations under constant surveillance. Several delegates lowered their eyes, unable to deny the accusations. We offer a different path, Reyes continued. Earth joins the galactic community as a full and equal member. The technology we've developed becomes available to all species, not hoarded by the powerful few. Resources are exchanged through fair trade, not extraction quotas. And if we refuse, the Taranian commander asked, then the Phoenix and her sister ships will ensure that the old order cannot continue, not through destruction, but by making it impossible to maintain. Your monopolies on FTL travel, on energy production, on weapons technology, all rendered obsolete overnight. The conference room fell silent. The delegates exchanged glances, communicating in ways unique to their species. The tactical display showed the Sailor fleet beginning to withdraw to a less aggressive posture. Vazdak finally spoke, his voice subdued. You have given us much to consider. The conclave will need to deliberate. Of course, Reyes agreed. We'll provide safe passage for your return. The Galactic Congress in 3 weeks will be the appropriate venue for formal negotiations. As the delegates prepared to depart, the Mrodini representative pulsed a question. One thing remains unclear. Admiral, why now? Why reveal yourselves at this precise moment? Reyes looked out at Earth through the viewport, her expression thoughtful. Because we finally achieved everything we needed to ensure we could never be silenced again. Because we wanted to enter galactic society on our terms, not yours. And because 70 years is long enough for any species to be treated as children. After the delegation departed, Lieutenant Commander Jackson joined Reyes at the viewport. They'll try something before the Congress convenes, he predicted. The Sailor won't surrender their dominance easily. I'm counting on it, Reyes replied. Their response will reveal much about our path forward, whether as partners or adversaries. She turned from the viewport to gaze around the bridge of humanity's first superwarship, at the crew that represented Earth's finest minds and most dedicated spirits. Either way, the galaxy now knows that humanity has arrived, not as supplicants, but as equals, not seeking permission, but claiming our rightful place among the stars. As the Phoenix maintained its vigil over Earth, news of humanity's emergence spread across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. On 1,000 worlds, oppressed species looked to the blue planet with newfound hope. In the halls of power, entrenched interests scrambled to adapt to a reality where humanity could no longer be ignored or controlled. The balance of power had shifted irrevocably. The galaxy would never be the same again.